Rob and Annabelle, and we're here again talking about value exchange. And we've got special guests here this morning. Jake, quick introductions for people who don't know me or Annabelle. I'm Rob, have worked with Annabelle for heaven knows how long now, since probably 14 years ago in EY days. I've got three kids who are kind of Jake's age, maybe a little younger, and live in Surrey. And I've kind of been on this journey of how individuals and organisations might work with one another to look at improving communities and improving the planet and helping with individual well-being of all shapes, sizes, ages. And that's kind of what drives me and gets me out of bed. Annabelle?
Yeah, hi, I'm Annabelle Lambert. I'm still based in West Sussex. I have a different backdrop today. It's the first day of half term, 2 kids, 14, 17. A big sign on the door saying do not disturb. Hopefully that will work. I can't account for dogs barking. But my thing is all about people, and Jake and I met, I don't know, 18 months ago, something like that, maybe. But yeah, sorry, that's me. I'm going to stop there.
So our special guest is Jake. Before you do introductions, Jake, I'm just going to talk about you just for a little bit. So we've had a scheme running, which we started just before the pandemic, which Annabelle can talk about better than I can, called Young Leaders. And that was about a heartfelt belief that we had that the future is about young people. And we've been doing this 20 odd years and not getting any younger, funnily enough, although in our brains we're younger, but in our bodies, maybe I'm a little bit older. We started recruiting and offering young people work without a particular job to move into. And with some help from government grant, we recruited 65 young people over the pandemic and lots of volunteers. And a lot of it was about young people supporting young people. And Jake has come into Ethos, it feels like forever ago, but ages ago, to help support Ethos, but particularly to help support young people, which really fits in with his mission. So we're very delighted to have Jake here on the show this morning. And Jake, that's sort of a little bit of a run-in. Do you just want to tell us about what you do, why you do, how you do it?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, cheers, Rob. So my name's Jake Richings. I have just started calling myself an entrepreneur now. I'm best known for school speaking about finding careers that you love and using TikTok to boost your employability. But aside from that, I'm helping early careers and schools use TikTok as one of many tools to engage young people. I'm also helping young people start their own businesses around Gloucestershire and Wiltshire, where I'm based, and many other pursuits alongside that in employability. But the reason that I love doing this is because of the challenges I had when I first started work, and knowing where I am now, I wish I'd have had more support back then.
I love the way you feel like you're like 104, but you just had the wherewithal very early in your career to go, actually, that was really quite tough. I think, I can help, which is just excellent. Excellent. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Yesterday, Jake, you posted on LinkedIn. I do read what you post, which is good of me. You posted something about supply and demand, and why are there so many young people really struggling to get on the work ladder? And actually, every minute of the day we're told there's so many jobs, so many vacancies that need to be filled. I wondered whether we could talk about that a bit and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm fortunate to be on kind of both sides of the coin. I work with a lot of young people getting ready for their first steps into employment, getting their first jobs. But I also get to work with a lot of early careers teams in how they create their work experience offering and how they recruit. And I'm seeing both of them have challenges that don't seem to make sense for each other. So on one hand, you've got young people who are telling me they're applying for hundreds of jobs and not getting a response. Young people who are seemingly don't have the confidence or the skills to get their first step on the ladder. And they're finding it really difficult to get their first job. And in the market, I'm seeing businesses that are struggling to recruit early talent. they're saying they're not getting the applications. They're certainly not getting the skilled applications that they'd expect, and are not finding people that are work ready. And in my mind, I don't understand how both of those can exist as problems. It seems like what is the missing link here? Is it just that what young people and businesses expect of each other is wrong? That they maybe expect there to be more skills, or young people expect to be developed more? So I'm really interested in this spot because, like I say, I'm trying to help the young people get work, and I'm also trying to help businesses get young people into work. So it just seems like a bit of an odd space. And it seems like a lot of other people are spotting that as well.
So it's not knowing what you're going to say. It's a brilliant lead-in before Annabelle does any more questions. A project that we did in construction a few years ago called Skills Planner. Now we invested £2 million plus with lots of employers on that, to look at just that problem. Approximately 1 in 10 people in the UK are employed within the supply chain of construction. Construction have a massive skills gap. Exactly what you just said about, expecting people with the right skills, doing the right applications. And yet, hundreds of young people, we know this from our young leaders, thousands of young people, applying for hundreds of jobs each, and they're not being a match. And so the gap is, if anything, after Brexit. Yeah, there's a breakfast.
If only it would have been that simple.
The gaps, so perhaps getting bigger. And on one of the things about value exchange is we've been designing something for individuals, however old, to design their own work. And what we want to do is encourage employers to design roles that fit individuals and the talent, the enormous talent that's out there. So you've kind of got, on the one hand, individuals designing their dream work. Employers, we would like, and increasingly are having to redesign their work to fit individuals. That's the dream. It may be not in our lifetime, but that's the mission that we're on with Value Exchange. And I think, have you got another question, Annabelle? I just wanted to make that skills planner point.
No, I'm interested in, Jake, what you've come across in this challenge. When you're working on both sides, where do you think where do you think the gaps are? I mean, I feel we've talked to a number of organisations that help people who are really quite distant, but I don't think this is just about those people. I think it's just about young people generally trying to get into work. It's a massive problem for them, is what I'm seeing. But when you talk to these wonderful organisations that help, the most disadvantaged in society, try and get more skills, whatever it is that they're doing. They've interviewed young people and they all come back with the same thing, or seemingly the same thing. It's like, we are more demanding of what an employer is and how they're treated and what they're doing and those sorts of things. And this doesn't, it's not, doesn't seem to be getting across to the other side that this is a new world that's developing. And I feel a positive one because it's looking after people better. But any thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I think there's two main factors going on at the moment. There's one which has been like a steady stagnation, or especially with COVID, like a decline in the actual soft skills of young people. Think about like confidence and leadership, stuff that you don't necessarily develop because of the curriculum, but often it's a lot of the after school stuff. So, playing in a sports team is a great way to build teamwork skills that you might not get in maths class. And I feel like those are things that are really valuable in any job, which is what more and more businesses are recruiting for. But the second thing is almost an increase, like you mentioned, in expectations of what a workplace should be and could offer for a young person. So a young person will go into an entry-level role and expect progression, expect learning opportunities, and expect them over quite a short period of time. And this has happened, through no fault of young people's own, but more and more that Gen Z are being raised in a world that is quick to turn around on what they want. So if I want next day to order a table, it will arrive next day. If I want takeaway, it can arrive like tonight. I just go on my phone. You know, even if I want to go on a date, it's not that good, but you just swipe, right? But a career is very different to that. It's not quick turnaround. And I think businesses have maybe been blindsided by this a bit. They've sort of expected that this generation more or less will want what the last generations did, and that's not the case. So there definitely needs to be adaptation from both sides to say, okay, the first job I get is not going to be perfect, but it's going to help me get the skills to go on to the next one. And equally, from a business point of view, there has to be some leeway to say this young person might not be work ready yet. How can we support them, whether it's directly through employment or apprenticeship, or indirectly through the charities that support young people to be work ready? Because at the moment, there's just like a complete disconnect between what young people believe they should get as their first opportunity and what businesses are prepared to hire.
So we have to get the value exchange in this series conversation, all about ethos. So we have this single value exchange designed to capture, and try and mold the work that people do according to what individuals want to do. And that I wonder if you could just share some of your ethos experiences firsthand in terms of your journey, which is a really inspiring one, and how to watch you grow and develop, and the TikTok and the entrepreneurship. So, how any reflections on ethos and value exchange for you? What was the experience? How has it helped or hindered?
Yeah, I'll speak more broadly about value exchange to start, and maybe share a little bit more of my journey, I suppose. So I left school in 2015, and for a year after leaving school, I was NEET, so not in education, employment, or training. For a large part because I didn't know what job I wanted, and no jobs looked interesting to me. I was one of these, demanding Gen Zs that really expected something quite high, but didn't have that much to offer. And no job existed that I felt would be a good fit for me. After cutting my teeth in the likes of being a pot washer and being a waiter, that kind of stuff, I eventually got a career in sales and customer service. But again, that wasn't the right fit. And I feel like I kept beating myself up for saying, oh, this isn't what I want to do, but I don't know what is. No job role exists that I think I'd really want to do. And so as part of trying to work out, what I'm passionate about, what I'd love to do, I just started trying so many different things that I had like a little inkling. Not that I was like, I want to do that. It was more like, yeah, I might want to be a teacher. Maybe I could volunteer at a school. Oh, I might want to do app design. I could make an app. And I just started making apps, designing board games, making video games, managing an esports team, all this stuff that I was like, maybe that's what I want to do. And as a result of that, not only did I learn loads of skills, but I started sharing this with friends, what I was doing and what was working. And they told me it was working for them, that it was really valuable. That then became speaking to youth charities to help young people that are unemployed. That then became school talks and university talks. And by sharing this stuff that I found really valuable, that I enjoyed sharing, I almost carved out its own path where I could do something for work that I enjoyed, but there was no job role for it. There wasn't someone out there hiring saying, we'd like someone to share their story of this, and that. I just kind of made that path. And that sort of led me down entrepreneurship and led me to connect with ethos as well. So within ethos, it's a very similar thing where you join and you're not given a bunch of work and said, go away and do that. This is your job role. It's more so you look around and see what takes your fancy, what you think you might like, and then you give it a go. And then you reflect and say, actually, I did like doing that, or I didn't like that part of it. And that's what I found really valuable early in my career when I was trying to find my path. So it only makes sense to me now that we should get more young people to do that. In a similar way that graduate programs try to do, give people a buffet of stuff that they can try, but then allow them the reflection to say what parts did they like and where might those parts exist in other jobs, careers that you could create down the line.
Interesting. Our journey, 22 years, the value exchange has always been something we've used internally, for social entrepreneurs, for people that, like yourself, want to discover their why and to experiment. But now we are turning it outside, so anybody can part of this series. Anybody, nothing to do with ethos, whether you're employed, whether you're unemployed, whether you've got a label like neat, you're young or old or whatever. And two things on what you just said. One about experimentation probably is a key one, in that I absolutely agree that for young people, you've just got to try stuff, and to be able to give young people the ability to experiment, and everybody, whatever age, but particularly young people that come to the table who haven't done a job, who haven't, had the experience of, maybe I need to give this time, or turn up, or, just be present, or, try things out. And that is absolutely essential, and not necessarily about, I'm going to join an accountancy firm and I've got a buffet of 12 things they let me do. But, your story, which is very inspiring, and, your label now of entrepreneurship, doesn't necessarily matter the label, but being able to try anything. I want to do graphic design. I think I want to do finance. That sounds great. Oh, I hate finance. I love it. Whatever. It is something that we did, I think we achieved really well on. That was my first sort of comeback on that. The second one was this "I was neat" bit, and we dived into this a little bit with some a bit of DWP data science earlier in the week, and that they've got some evidence about a program that's delivered to neat people having a positive impact on work, and it does. And the program was a 6-week one with 1 year mentoring, so it's not an insignificant one. But the net benefit on days employed in over a 2-year period that they did the study was just less than 10% more days worked, and even for the most on average, the median days worked was less than half of the days that you could work. So in other words, 50% of, people want to work full time, but so it is a bit of a stigmatization, but it's also a tragedy that however high functioning academic, that actually so much talent is there not being utilized. And we're paying people to be unemployed rather than creating opportunities, for them to work. I wonder, and then I'll pass back to Annabelle. Next question. I give her 10 minutes to prepare the next question.
So mean.
how can we just ideas to help people do that experience thing when they're spending all their time doing 100 applications to get into these jobs that they don't maybe have the experience or qualifications to,
or even want,
and then they join
There's
them
a lot
and
of
maybe
that
realize
going
they
on.
don't want to do it. But how could we innovate around that problem? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's a couple things that I speak about a lot when I'm at schools, speaking to year 10s, year 12s. Whilst I was working full time, I didn't know it, but I was developing this sort of framework for how do you get started in any industry that you think you might be interested in. And I say think because it's a really small, like, you have an idea that, oh yeah, I'd like to design a board game. It's like, okay, well, how can I do that? You don't have to be certain. One of the things is about the people that you know. And it might sound really cliche. It's like not who you know, not what you know, it's who you know. But more than anything, young people don't have those connections with people that can give them opportunities to do the things that they think they might be interested in. It's all very well and good if you've grown up with those connections, but many people just don't have them. But these are still people you can connect with. But you just need to start putting some feelers out there, having conversations with parents, neighbours, coaches, teachers, about the things you kind of think you'd like to do, because law of was it degrees of separation? Somebody knows somebody that might know someone that works at a local football club that might be able to get you in to do some work experience there, or to give you a volunteering opportunity to do work that you think you might like. The second thing is about trying things that you think you might kind of like with no expectation that you will like them. I'll give you a real world example. It's a bit loose, but I've always played table tennis. I've always been quite good at table tennis. And it was only this time last year that I thought, I wonder what tennis is like. So I didn't want to buy all the kit. Well, yeah, I was like, I don't know if it's any different. So I didn't want to spend loads of money on the kit. But I ended up paying a couple quid a week to get proper lessons with like a group of people. And as a result, not only met a new group of people I didn't know, but also developed some skills, became much fitter as a result. And now I can say I play tennis. If you look in the corner there, that's a piece of artwork. It's facing the other way because I thought, oh, what would it be like to paint? You know, I've never done a painting since I was at school. So I just got some materials, started doing that, and then you bring out some creativity. Oh, wait, I'm a creative person. And I think we need to really be encouraging young people to try things without the expectation that that needs to be their passion or their why, but more so that by doing these things, you learn maybe what you would or wouldn't like to continue with.
So I have a tennis to jiu-jitsu story,
Don't we all?
which is a recent one, and it's I think it involves getting rid of the bat. But my middle son, who's social, he's moved back into new NHS job, and he was doing tennis, you know, in the same way as you've just described. They're in Ipswich with the NHS. He's now in a West London NHS. And the tennis, you know, again, it was physical activity, but it was also social, and it was fantastic. And he decided not to join a tennis club, but actually has gone to a jiu-jitsu club, which is just like about as unbattened ball as you could imagine, I guess. And so now he's got a totally different group of people, a totally different sport, but it's all of that same, you know, physical, social, network, engaging that you just described. So tennis to jiu-jitsu. Sorry, Annabelle, I interrupted.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say from the other side, the reverse. Sorry, I told you. Apologies.
Come on, doesn't matter. We'll bring him into it. Come on, Freddie.
No, he's just peeping through the window outside. I'm like, oh God. Go away.
No, that's not going to be cut out at all.
No, it is. I'm in charge of the Premiere Pro now. I'm happy for that to be in the idea. No, what I was saying was just that ability to just try stuff, and sort of one of you know, I've heard it so many times, but I'm not sick of one of the stories from our young leaders, to Charlotte. Hello, wherever you are in South America, but was how she came to us, and she'd had a really bad experience in sales. You know, effectively, she'd been in some call center making calls all day, not great experience for her. And she came to us, and she's like, I don't want to do sales, don't want to do business development, it's not my thing. And by the end of 6 months of just finding herself, getting involved in all sorts of stuff, I mean, we really did chuck her massively in at the deep end and go, just get on with some stuff. I mean, you know, Sarah and Charlotte, our very first young leaders, were really, you know, they were subjected to some quite hairy challenges, which they just met brilliantly. But by the end of her 6 months, she was like, I really love people, and I really love talking to people, and I really love developing business, and and she just found her groove, and she was very much in that space with business development. So I just, you know, you also sort of taking on board that bad experience, and how it can be turned around by just creating a bit of space, really, to try something else. And I think, I feel I want to say that I feel we talk about young people because that's your thing, Jake, but also I feel anybody, you know, I feel old people. I mean, there's this huge problem with over 50s at the moment, or, you know, this is now the cohort that we're focused on, if we're the DWB, in this swings and roundabouts that we do, always young people, old people, young people, old people, like that, which is, you know, fine. But I feel, you know, I'm pleased that it feels like there's a protest from 50 plus people, that actually I don't want to do that work anymore. I want to do something that's, you know, what something more meaningful to me. And so, the same, I recommend the same sort of, approach. It's like, well, let's try some stuff. Let's create some work that's meaningful to people, because there's a lot of meaningful work that needs to go on.
And just to sort of build on, Jake was talking about the networks for young people are hugely important. And also the Gen Z expectation, young people expectation. But I want to link those things to a story Annabelle and I have that's 24 years old now, where we started Ethos Mark 1, which is called See People, Community Connected People.
Chocolate
people. That's Annabelle's one. But we went to California to meet, amongst other people, a guy called Etienne Wenger, and we mentioned him before because it's kind of a bit of a replay of history there. And he was one of the guys who first invented the term communities of practice and wrote a very academic book about how people like themselves and can, get groups of them together to form social networks that are outside of their formal hierarchy. And they practice, as in formally practice, doing things. And he studied groups of people who were insurance claims processors. And this is sort of a group that you would not maybe naturally think of as the most stimulated at work kind of people, but it was, how do they manage to have purpose and passion and focus and all of those things whilst being an insurance claim processor? Long story short is that it's because of the communities of practice. It's because of the deep, rich social networks that they have. So it's not just about the job you're doing. It's about all of the things that come with it, and particularly the people and permission and context that you kind of get from that. So again, message to young people is that that doesn't need to be a job that the job itself is providing everything that you want. It can just be the context that the job allows you to build. Like you said, stepping stone, but another way is the sort of social networks, a great opportunity. Right, it's 27 minutes. So final thoughts from Jake, then final thoughts from Annabelle, and then I'm going to bring it to a close, and we're going to cut it into something slightly shorter, but not that much. Jake, anything else you want to kind of add?
Final thoughts. I think ultimately one of the things I'm seeing in both early careers and also in young people is that we really need to focus on engagement with young people. We can't expect to force the tools and the how-to on them and expect them to run with it in the same way that you maybe mentioned the DWP are helping people get a little bit more work, but maybe not solving the issue. If a young person or an old person, if a person is engaged with their own development, their own career, they're going to go so much further than if they're expecting someone to hold their hand and walk with them through it. So whenever we're creating content, creating guides, creating jobs or roles, we need to think about engaging the people that are actually going to do them, because it's going to be so much better in the long term.
Thank you very much. So much wisdom. So
well, I'm just thinking thoughts. then enter stage right value exchange is what I'm feeling now you've said that. I feel that point of, people need to be happy, back to permission, which we talked about a while ago, but it's just, feel comfortable with being at the center of what it is that they are and how they are engaging. I think that's really insightful. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Until the next time, this is the Value Exchangers. See you soon. Bye-bye now.